Hello, I'm Debbie Bell Hosking for Finextra TV here at Sibos 2023 in Toronto, and I'm talking to Sabih Behzad of DEUTSCHE Bank, and we're talking about the potential of distributed ledger technology in the financial services. So Sabih, a big welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you on the Finextra TV sofa. So let's start off by talking about what you think are the key use cases for DLT and blockchain in the financial services.
If we think about blockchain and DLT, Debbie, then it's really three areas that define what makes it a compelling technology. I mean, ultimately, it's about having that shared ledger. So firstly, it's about finding those efficiency plays. Can we make processes, product services cheaper, more efficient, faster? The second is around innovation. Are there opportunities to innovate in those products and services? And the third is about finding the products and services that have the depth, volume and size that actually make them attractive to the financial services industry. And I think when we use those criteria, we basically end up with two or three areas. One is around the bond market. We think that's a very compelling space for blockchain and DLT. The private debt market more generally, but also illiquid assets and illiquid markets that aren't perhaps traded today, real estate being a prime example.
So DLT and blockchain, we're chatting about it now. It's been spoken about for several years now at Sibos. What are you seeing as perhaps the most significant developments in terms of changing that theory and discussion into action? And also if we can chat about DEUTSCHE Bank's role in that.
It's a great question. I'd say there's three things that are different compared to before, or certainly have accelerated compared to before. First is the regulatory environment. I think there was a dearth of regulatory frameworks in place, and we've seen a number of those emerge. One prime example is the MiCA regulation in Europe, the markets and crypto assets. That new regulation has brought essentially a framework that players can operate in within that industry, so that's an important development. The second area I would say is the technology has certainly improved. There's now a number of different options in terms of blockchains and other technology you can use to transmit, settle, and close out transactions, and that has made it faster and cheaper than it perhaps was before. And then the final area I would really say is we've seen a fundamental shift from pure POCs, pilots, to actual commercial cases. And a prime example of that are some of the European Investment Bank, EIB, bond issuances that we've seen since 2021, where these are real dollar value, real large transactions, euro value in some cases, that have entered the market, and those are not limited to POCs. From a DEUTSCHE Bank perspective, we've been really active in terms of building our own capabilities in that market. For example, we are looking to build out a custody offering so that we can safe keep some of those digital assets on behalf of our clients. We're also looking to build out our tokenization capability so that we can also participate in a number of these issuances going forward.
Fantastic. So we're seeing that momentum, but naturally there are challenges as well. So what do you see as the key challenges that we still need to overcome, and how are we going to overcome those to achieve momentum and scale?
I think to be honest, they're not necessarily new challenges. They're the same challenges we've had for a while, and to reiterate them, the first is that regulatory angle. I talked about how it has improved. Nonetheless, we don't have regulatory and legal unanimity. And I think unless we have that, it's very difficult to get the size and scale in this topic. So that's one area. The second area is interoperability, and people often talk about that. But for me, interoperability is not just limited to how do you get different blockchains working together. That's very important because we don't want to create isolated pools or islands of liquidity. But it's also about interoperability with legacy systems, because of course all of the financial institutions out there run huge legacy systems, and those need to be able to talk to them as well. So I think those are probably the two biggest challenges, and hopefully we'll start to see some momentum on those two as well.
So those are the challenges now. Let's cast ahead to the future. If we were Sibos 2030, perhaps, what discussion would we be having about DLT and blockchain and that ecosystem? How do you see it evolving?
It's a great question. I would actually say we won't be talking about it at all. Ultimately, we don't talk today about the technology that powers emails or powers the internet. We actually talk about the use cases. And my expectation is that blockchain and DLT will move on to a level where it's just part of the fabric of infrastructure that we have in financial services. the conversation I would expect at Sibos in 2030 to concentrate very much on the benefits that technology gives you and the use cases it drives. And that is, as I said, faster, more efficient, cheaper than what we have today. But also, one of the key benefits we have of this technology is programmability. We can actually automate processes. We can create automation to a level that we don't have today. And I think it's those use cases that are really, really exciting that will form part of that Sibos agenda in future, hopefully.
Well, Sabih, I look forward then to inviting you back to the sofa in 2030. We can play back this interview and let's see how your predictions have played out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lovely to see you.